Franklin Delano Roosevelt, 32nd President, 1933 to 45, Democrat, 1882, born on January 30th in Hyde Park, New York, 1904, earned BA degree from Harvard University, 1905. On March 17th, married Anna Eleanor Roosevelt, a fifth cousin and niece of President Theodore Roosevelt. A daughter and 5 sons would be born to the Roosevelts. 1907, passed New York State Bar examination, withdrew from Columbia Law School, hired by Wall Street law firm. 1911 to 13, was a New York State Senator. 1913 to 20, served as Assistant Secretary of the Navy. 1920, ran unsuccessfully for Vice President on Democratic ticket with James M. Cox, returned to law practice. 1921, stricken with polio while vacationing in Campobello, ME, he would never regain the use of his legs. 1928, elected to first of 2 terms as governor of New York. 1932, elected president over incumbent Republican Herbert Hoover. 1945, died on April 12th at Warm Springs, Georgia. Highlights of presidency. 1933, during first 100 days as president, launched New Deal relief measures, revived the banking industry, delivered the first of 28 fireside chants. In December, the 21st Amendment ending prohibition was ratified. 1934, became the first president to visit Latin America. 1935, Social Security Act passed. Works Progress Administration, WPA, was established. Wagner Act, creating National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, was enacted. 1936, amid economic improvement, re-elected in a landslide over Alfred M. Landon, also re-elected in 1940 and 1944. 1937, President's plan to reform the Supreme Court was criticized as a court-packing scheme and rejected. 1939, Hitler overran Poland and war was declared in Europe. 1941, Congress enacted Lend-Lease, giving the president power to supply military equipment to U.S. allies. On December 7th, Japanese launched surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. Congress declared war the next day. 1944, June 6th, D-Day, Allied forces landed on the Normandy coast of France. 1945, Yalta Conference held in the Crimea in February. Roosevelt, Britain's Winston Churchill, and USSR's Joseph Stalin discussed the terms of peace and the post-war world. Harry S. Truman, 33rd President, 1945 to 53, Democrat, 1884, born on May 8th in Lamar, M.O. 1901, graduated from high school. Studied at the Kansas City Law School, 1923 to 25. 1906 to 17, worked on family farm in Granville, Missouri. 1917 to 18, served with the American Expeditionary Force. 1919, on June 28th, married Elizabeth Bess Wallace, a daughter. Mary Margaret would be born in 1924. 1926 to 34, was presiding judge of the Jackson County Court. 1934, won first of 2 terms to the U.S. Senate. 1941 to 44, served as chairman of a special Senate Committee on Defense. 1944, running with F.D. Roosevelt, elected vice president. 1945, on April 12th, sworn in as president following the sudden death of President Roosevelt. 1953, began retirement, during which he traveled widely, wrote memoirs, and remained politically active. 1972, died in Kansas City on December 26th. Highlights of presidency. 1945, on May 7th, Germany surrendered, ending World War II in Europe. On June 26th, the UN Charter was signed. From July 17th to August 2nd, Truman attended the Potsdam Conference. After atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan surrendered in September 1946, ordered the seizure of nations' railroads in face of a strike threat. 1947, on March 12th, outlined the Truman Doctrine, U.S. aid to Greece, Turkey, and other nations threatened by armed minorities and outside pressure. In June, the Marshall Plan, economic and technical assistance for Europe, was announced, and Congress overrode presidential veto of Taft-Hartley labor bill. 1948, in a political upset, one full term. 1949, in January, granted recognition to new state of Israel. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was set up. 1950, U.S. forces entered combat in Korea. 1951, relieved General Douglas MacArthur of his command in the Far East. 1952, declined to reach, or rather seek, re-election. Dwight David Eisenhower, 34th President, 1953 to 61, Republican. 1990, born on October 14th in Denison, Texas. 1915, graduated from the U.S. Military Academy. 1916, married Mary Mammy Geneva Dowd on July 1st. The couple would have 2 sons. One died in childhood. 1918, took command of a tank training city in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. 1929 to 33, served under the Assistant Secretary of War. 1935 to 39, was a senior assistant to General Douglas MacArthur in the Philippines. 1942, with United States fighting in World War II, became commander of the European Theater of Operations. 1943, appointed Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force. 1944, directed the landing of Allied forces in Normandy. 1945, succeeded George Marshall as Army Chief of Staff. 1948, installed as President of Columbia University. 1950, became Supreme Commander of the forces of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. 1952, retired from the Army, elected President. 1955, suffered a heart attack. 1961, restored to the rank of General of the Army. 1965,